Good morning, Big Brother fans. This is it. This is the finale. This is the last Spreaker that I am going to record for Big Brother 17 before the show ends. No, I'll come back at least tomorrow or maybe the day after. No worries. What to tell you? Not a whole lot. I was thinking about this earlier. I thought, in previous seasons, I've been doing these kind of things, these little chatty things on Spreaker. I think this is about my third year, maybe. I want to say. Last year I paid for it. The first year I was doing it, or maybe the last 2 years before. Well, I'm Big Brother Over the Top and Big Brother 18 are one and the same. That was one continuous one, but when I first got Spreaker, which was a replacement for another one that I can't even think of that I had, I do these things because it's easier for me to record and then upload them. And last year, Spreaker went the free. I was doing the free one 2 years ago, and then last year Spreaker said, "You know what? We're going to make free people can only record for 10 minutes, and you can only keep the last 20 hours of your stuff or so." And it used to be that the old recordings of this were, for some reason, important to me, and that was bothered me. And the fact that I could only record for 10 minutes, that was going to be an issue because I tended to talk for 15 to 20, sometimes upwards of 25 minutes on these little Spreakers. And so because we started doing the Patreons last year, I signed up for the paid version, the lowest level, which is, I think it's $50 a year is what it costs. It's not a ton, but it's still $50. And that gives me up to, I think, 45 minutes single session. And I think it keeps 100 hours, the most 100 recent ones of these. Then they just start dropping off the backside, and I haven't been checking anymore. I actually used to download all of my ones, and I'm like, what the heck am I going to do with these? I'm never going to go back to listen to my rambling thoughts from Big Brother 17. So I haven't been keeping them anymore, but I used to download them. But as I was thinking this morning, I haven't needed more than 10 minutes this season. I've very, very rarely gone over 10 minutes, and I think it's part of what's gone on this season, that it's been this is what's going to happen, and it's how it's going to be, and there's not going to be any changing it, and da-da-da. And even in other seasons when maybe they've been kind of a route, kind of just a run by one particular house guest or something, I've enjoyed the season enough that I've talked about it as much, but this season it just hasn't been. It just haven't been, and I've been whatever. There you go. There's a random thought to start out this little Spreaker. So, nothing's going on in the house. They're just waiting for tonight's finale. Although yesterday they had a household lockdown for something, probably a light bulb change or something that needed to be fixed. That they needed the house guests, because they're locked out of the bathroom. They're locked out of the backyard now, while the backyard is prepped for tonight's show. And so they threw them up in the household room for a bit of time. And Paul speculated that maybe the finale was last night. He's like, well, maybe they're getting ready for finales tonight. Maybe they were getting ready for it. And when I say tonight, it's Paul saying tonight yesterday. No, Paul's wrong. Again, Paul, you're wrong. I mean, I guess everybody's entitled to be wrong and to think that maybe this is happening, to speculate, but it's just the way that Paul seems so self-assured, and I guess it was the vet status that, Paul used his vet status to say, well, this is what's going to happen next, and I know this is going to happen. So every time Paul suggests something may be happening, it's just fun to point out that, no, you're wrong, Paul. You don't know this game as well as you tell everybody you know it. Although they believed you, so it helped you in your game. Your BS about knowing when things were going to happen and how things were going to be did help you in your game. So nothing else has changed. Christmas is already kind of led on to the guys. You take each other to the final two. I can't even remember. She said it clearly yesterday, or I think she may have even said it the day before. Point is, Christmas is said. They know that the intention is you're going. And that's another thing. Has there ever been another season where who we all think is the third place lock has not even tried to stay, has actually said, yeah, you two are taking each other? I mean, even Victoria in season 16, where she was delusional. She thought she was staying, and Derek had her snowballed. But, they weren't not saying any, she's not even trying. I'm going to sneeze, so pause for a second. Okay, I'm back. So that's bothersome that Christmas just doesn't even seem to be trying. And, as much of a motivational person as she's supposed to be, as much as a competitor she's supposed to be, is she really thrown in the towel at this point? Because she sure seems to have. That bothers me too. But there's a vote for Paul when she's kicked out. She will vote for Paul. There's no way in the world she's voting for Josh. So the question then becomes, is Josh going to have enough votes? Or is Paul going to have enough votes? And we're hearing absolutely nothing from production implying that the House might vote for Paul. It's all how they're all bitter and they're all mad. And frankly, I think they're just totally feeding us bull. I think Paul's going to win easily. I don't know if it'll be unanimous. But it has the potential to be unanimous, which would more solidify Paul in his mind to one of the best players of all time, right? I mean, a unanimous vote, he must be a great player. I really think he's going to run away with the vote tonight. So what do we got left then? Well, we've got America's favorite player. And yes, I plan on assuming, or if by chance, Cody does win America's favorite player. And I know there are people that absolutely do not want him to. I understand that. But let's assume he does. I will be tweeting at him like I have some great big power. Jessica doesn't even follow me. But lots of people do. I will tweet at him that he needs to apologize for some of the things he said in the House and figure things out a little bit more. That his opinions did not... He was not... If he wins America's favorite player, that his win of America's favorite player was not an endorsement of everything he said and did in the House. And he needs to realize that and understand that we weren't... some people think when they get the most votes for something that it means that everybody approves of them. That's not necessarily the case. Matter of fact, it's usually not the case. Sometimes it's a lesser of two evil thing, and sometimes, people are just voting based on what they've seen only on television. Who was it? Somebody... Oh, I know. Josh, he's talking to the cameras about how he thinks that he can beat Paul in the final two because he thinks that the rest of the House will want to give it to a vet, and he's analyzing it. And I know that Josh is definitely more of a fan than we initially gave him credit for being. Or we kind of he seems like a super fan, and then the way he acted, we thought there's no way he's just a super fan. Oh wait, he kind of is a super fan because he knows things and he talks about I got to get Paul out, but then he backed off of it, and it's like, you know what? He's a TV only super fan. I don't think Josh ever watched the live feeds. And you can be a super fan and only watch the TV, sure, but you don't know, in my opinion, you lose a lot of the nuances of the game when you only watch the television show. Or, those of you that only watch the television show, when you only watch the television show and do not follow any other, the websites and stuff that track what's going on in the live feeds, or listen to podcasts or whatever, there's other ways to get your information than actually watching the live feeds. And I don't think Josh ever did anything but watch the live feeds. I don't think Josh was reading Jokers or some other site that had live feed updates, following places on Twitter. I don't think Josh was doing any of that. I think Josh was simply watching the TV show all the time. Maybe chatting in the CBS chat rooms, though I doubt that. He wouldn't have paid for the live feed. No. So Josh's thoughts of the gameplay and stuff are just not quite there. And he seems to think that the House is going to vote for him over Paul. In part, Josh has said because he thinks Paul hasn't been making any game moves, which that's the most confusing part of everything. Why would Josh... How does Josh think that Paul got to the end? Does Josh really think that Paul hasn't done anything? That's the weirdest part right there. That's where I turn my head sideways like a confused puppy dog. Like, what? You don't think Paul has made any game moves? What did you think he's been doing this whole time? Do you think you've been making all the game moves? Because Paul, you've kind of been manipulated. So, yeah, in order for Josh to win, I think he has to take Christmas, and he's not going to take Christmas. So, well, congratulations, Paul. You have won Big Brother 19. Now, please, don't ever darken my Big Brother doorway again. Please, 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 please. Please, CBS, do not take his win as an endorsement for his gameplay, his game style, or bringing back vets is a good thing. As someone, Liquid 8, the maker of BB Viewer, which I still use every day, and if you do use it, you should consider donating. There's a donate tab in the BB Viewer. You should donate to Liquid 8 for his hard work. But as he quoted, he clipped a quote. It may have been from Big Brother Network, another great site, of an interview with Allison where asking about bringing back a vet, and Allison saying that she didn't think that bringing one vet would make that much of a difference or would have that much of an impact. Yeah, right. One other random thought, which again focus on Paul and the advantages he had this season. I was talking yesterday on Periscope, I think. It may have been the day before, and I may have already said this. I can't remember. I've talked too many places about too many things lately. But I was talking about, Cody and everyone. The argument has been that, Paul, as a vet, most vets have gotten some kind of immunity when they've returned to the game to kind of help them get a foothold on the game. And it's like, well, first of all, if Paul had even been up for eviction, it would have been day 30 when he was evicted. He had 24 days, I think, that he had in the House before he could have even been nominated. I think the first opportunity to actually be nominated was day 25. So he had 25 days to get things going. That's a pretty long time, especially when you've, again, handed out friendship bracelets, et cetera, et cetera. But in addition, the secret, the immunity, see, think about this. What if they had just announced that Paul had the pendant of protection and he had 3 weeks of immunity? That would have changed Cody's game. Cody wouldn't have nominated him. Cody wouldn't have gone after him that way. He would have held back. Jessica would have played her game differently. The two of them would not have played the same way that first couple of weeks if they knew that Paul was safe for the first month. So, how can you say that Paul didn't have a huge advantage? His strongest, and there is a little bit of legitimacy to this. The argument back in the day about Derek. Derek's biggest competitor, the person that he was against, the person who opposed him the most, was Donnie. Donnie was the one who wasn't fooled that much by Derek, but they were stuck together because they were both America's Players thing. He and that other guy and Donnie. were stuck together, and Donnie couldn't really get rid of him because I think what was the rule? If he did get rid of, if one of them got voted out, none of them got the money or something. So it forced those three to stay protected. And by the way, the other one was a very popular character, or very had a celebrity relative. So gosh, wonder why he got the votes. That's a whole other thing. But Derek and Donnie got the votes on their own, who they were. And they were not known before they entered the house. But the fact is that Donnie couldn't really go after Derek because he had a protection. So I don't think Derek could have gotten him out. But still, Cody would have played his game differently had he known that Paul was safe. And that's an argument that when we can have it, it just doesn't make a difference because the game's over, and that we'll never see it played that way. We can't go back and try it a different way. But it's something that I've mentioned a couple of times for people that argue that the immunity is given to all returning players. Well, first of all, rule number one, I don't like vets coming back with new people. I don't like it. I don't think it should happen. So that's number one right there. Then you can, from there, so I'm already arguing against that ever happening. And then you can go on to the other things and, it's just like, okay, if we're going to argue that, then we'll argue this. It just carries on and on. I'm done. I'm sitting in my car in a parking garage talking to myself. It is time for me to go to work. So you guys have a great day. I will be back tomorrow to talk about how Paul won. See, I keep saying all this hoping I'm going to be wrong, but no, I'm not going to be wrong. Paul's going to win. I'll come back talking about how Paul won, and we'll talk about who won America's Favorite Player, anything interesting that happened in the 2-hour finale tonight. You guys have a wonderful Wednesday. Oh, I'm not sure when I'll talk tomorrow. Just be aware that my thing tomorrow may be delayed. I'm not working tomorrow. I have things going on, so there's a chance that I may be delayed in my Spreaker tomorrow, but we'll eventually get it to you. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.